Hello, I'm John Connolly. I'm here in Waterstones, Piccadilly on Halloween to talk about my new short story collection, Night Music Nocturnes Volume 2. I think Elmore James is the greatest ghost story writer in the English language, particularly stories like Warning to the Curious or Casting the Runes. And what I love about him is, James used to read his stories on Christmas Eve as part of a tradition to the fellows at Cambridge and later at Eton. And I love the idea of a man reading ghost stories to adults in front of a fire while they all hold glasses of dry sherry. I wish I was born out of time. I think the first 100 pages of Dracula. Dracula, but not after that. I think Dracula begins to fall apart the moment that Demeter crashes against the cliffs of England. But those early scenes of him in his castle, I think, are quite lovely. And I love that image of the man lashed to the wheel as the ship crashes. So I think I still have, and he's art, we created him. So he's one of ours. Doubt. You begin a new book thinking that this is the one where you get found out that the whole edifice collapses and you have to go and get a proper job. And quite frankly, I've tried doing a proper job and I didn't much care for it. So that for me, yes, that fear of failure, I think. I've never had a supernatural experience. I'm just not one of those people. So, I'm quite fortunate in that I live a nice, cosseted, middle-class existence. So I very rarely come up against really appalling things. But I suppose, most of us are going to be done harm by other people at some point in our lives, whether it's emotional or physical, God help us, or whatever it may be. So yeah, but I don't want to live in fear of other people. I quite like people. Well, the thing is, I generally read very little long-form supernatural fiction. I think the short story is the ideal medium for, if there's a pun there, see what I did there? We're here all week, tip that way, just for supernatural fiction, because it doesn't have to explain. And the problem with a novel is that you really have to provide an explanation, and the worst thing you can do is explain the monster. So short stories, for me, perfect. Either of them will make me terribly happy, I have to say. I would take, I prefer unease to body horror. For me, horror is always tied up with suffering and torment and physicality, and I would much rather have things left unexplained. So for me, and I think The Exorcist is a work of art, Hostel just isn't, unfortunately.